Ever wondered why the American flag fluttered on the moon despite the absence of wind? Let's delve into the depths of one of the most enduring debates of the 20th century. The moon landing of 1969. Was it fact or fiction? This question has been the subject of countless discussions, debates, and arguments for over half a century. It has spawned documentaries, books, and even Hollywood films. But why does this question persist? The answer lies in the anomalies, the inconsistencies that have given fuel to the conspiracy theory that the US moon landing was, in fact, a grand hoax. Take the American flag, for instance. The footage from the Apollo 11 mission shows the flag fluttering as if caught in a breeze. But wait a minute, there's no air in the moon's environment. It's a vacuum. So how could the flag flutter? Scientists have offered explanations suggesting that the motion was caused by the astronauts themselves as they planted the flagpole. But for many, this explanation simply doesn't hold up. Then there's the strange lighting. The shadows cast by the lunar module and the astronauts seem to be inconsistent with the single light source, the sun. Some shadows appear shorter, others longer, and some seem to fall in completely different directions. Again, explanations have been provided, such as the uneven lunar terrain and reflective properties of moon dust. But the skeptics remain unconvinced. And what about the absence of stars in the photos? Shouldn't the lunar sky have been filled with stars, considering there's no atmosphere to obscure the view? The official explanation is that the stars were too faint to be captured due to the camera settings. However, this hasn't stopped people from wondering if the moon landing was staged in a studio. Could these anomalies simply be the result of technical limitations, or do they point to something more sinister? As we continue to explore the moon landing conspiracy, remember, the truth isn't always as it seems. Did you know that the astronauts' behavior during the 1969 press conference raised eyebrows? Indeed, it was a spectacle that left everyone with more questions than answers. As we delve into the archives, we find a press conference that was marked not by the joy and exhilaration of such a monumental achievement, but by a palpable air of discomfort. The three astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, sat before the world's press with a demeanor that was, quite frankly, unsettling. Instead of the beaming smiles and triumphant declarations one might expect from men who had just returned from the moon, there was a noticeable lack of enthusiasm. The men seemed almost burdened, weighed down. It was as if they were not returning heroes, but men carrying a heavy secret. Their responses to the questions posed were equally puzzling. Instead of the confident, straightforward answers one might anticipate from these brave adventurers, their responses were often evasive, indirect, even cryptic. Armstrong's response to a question about the moon's surface was particularly baffling. He spoke with a lack of detail that was uncharacteristic for a man of his scientific background and precision. And then there were the silences. Long, awkward pauses filled the room as the astronauts seemed to search for words or perhaps struggle with what they could and could not say. It was a press conference, yes, but it felt more like an interrogation, a grilling under the spotlight. So what was it? Were these signs of men who were merely exhausted from their journey, as some have suggested? Or was their discomfort indicative of something more? Could these men, hailed as heroes, be hiding a deep, dark secret? Were they the faces of the greatest hoax of the 20th century? The answers to these questions remain as elusive as the moon itself. And as we continue to probe, to question, to doubt, we find ourselves spiraling further into the rabbit hole of this intriguing mystery. Could these astronauts have been hiding a dark secret, or were they merely exhausted from their supposed journey? Stay tuned as we delve deeper. You don't want to miss what's coming up next. Can cryptic messages and coded language reveal the truth behind the moon landing? In the realm of the unexplained, one aspect of the moon landing that has raised more than a few eyebrows is the cryptic messages and coded language used by the astronauts during their mission. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins were not just astronauts. They were highly trained, skilled communicators. Their words were chosen carefully under the watchful eyes of NASA. But what if these words held more than just their surface meaning? Take, for instance, the now famous quote, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." A grand statement indeed, but some theorists suggest there's more to it than meets the eye. They believe it's a cryptic message, a coded way of saying that the event was staged. A small step in a soundstage, but a giant leap in deceiving mankind. Or consider the peculiar phrase, "Good luck, Mr. Gorski." Armstrong allegedly said this during the lunar landing, yet no one named Gorski was involved in the mission. Could this have been a coded message to someone on the inside? Then there are the bunny references. Aldrin on multiple occasions referred to seeing bunnies on the moon's surface. Conspiracy theorists argue that this was a coded way of saying they were not really on the moon, but rather in a studio with props, bunnies being a reference to props used in film and theater. Of course, skeptics argue these are merely coincidences, the result of overactive imaginations. They say that the high-stress environment of space travel could easily lead to unusual or cryptic speech. And NASA has provided explanations for all these so-called cryptic messages. But are these explanations enough? Are these messages proof of a grand conspiracy, or are they merely the result of overactive imaginations? The answer, as with many things in the realm of conspiracy theories, is not so black and white. It's up to you, dear listener, to delve deeper, question more, and decide for yourself. Did you know that a survey conducted in 1999 revealed that 6% of Americans believed the moon landing was a hoax? Intriguing, isn't it? You may find comfort in knowing that you're not alone in your skepticism. There exists a whole community of individuals and groups who raise an eyebrow at the thought of man setting foot on the lunar surface. Let's take a look at some of these doubters. One prominent figure is Bill Kaysing, a writer who worked for a company that manufactured rocket engines for NASA. Kaysing claimed that it was statistically impossible for the astronauts to have survived the dangerous conditions of outer space. Then there's Bart Sibrel, a filmmaker who produced several documentaries suggesting the moon landing was staged. He pointed out numerous inconsistencies in the footage and photographs, such as shadows and lighting that didn't match the sun's position, or the flag rippling in an environment that supposedly lacks wind. And let's not forget the Flat Earth Society, a group that staunchly rejects the idea of a spherical Earth. They argue that the moon landing was a grand deception designed to maintain the illusion of a round planet. These skeptics come from all walks of life, each with their own unique theories about what really transpired in 1969. Some propose that the landing was filmed in a secret Hollywood studio, while others believe it was a Cold War trick to assert American superiority over the Soviets. Now, why the skepticism? It's often rooted in a distrust of authority or a desire for truth. Many skeptics argue that they're simply asking for transparency and accountability from those in power. So, what's your stand? Are these skeptics merely refusing to accept the established narrative, or could they be onto something? Are they conspiracy theorists, or are they the ones asking the tough questions that others are too afraid to confront? Are these skeptics onto something, or are they merely refusing to accept the truth? As we delve deeper into this enigma, remember this: in the quest for truth, no question is ever too absurd to ask. So, was the moon landing a monumental achievement in human history, or the greatest hoax of the 20th century? Let's take a moment to revisit the intriguing points we've discussed. We've examined the footage of the moon landing, the odd shadows, the fluttering flag in the vacuum of space, and the peculiar absence of stars. We've scrutinized the astronauts' behavior during that 1969 press conference, their discomfort, their hesitation, their apparent evasiveness when faced with questions about their extraordinary journey. We've delved deep into the cryptic messages, the hidden meanings that some believe were desperate pleas for help, coded communication to those who were willing to listen, to question, to dig beneath the surface of the presented narrative. And we've met the doubters, those brave or foolish enough to question the accepted truth, to challenge the narrative, to seek answers to the questions that others were too afraid or too complacent to ask. Every piece of this puzzle, every anomaly, every cryptic message, every doubter adds a new layer to the enigmatic tapestry of the moon landing. Each element invites you to question, to ponder, to wonder, is everything as it seems? Or is there more to the story, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the discerning eye to uncover? Remember, questioning is not a sign of disbelief, but a quest for understanding. To question is to seek knowledge, to challenge assumptions, and to foster intellectual growth. And so, we return to our initial question. Was the moon landing a monumental achievement in human history, or the greatest hoax of the 20th century? The anomalies, the cryptic messages, the doubters, they all tell a story. But what story that is ultimately is up to you. The truth, as they say, is out there. But where that truth lies, only you can decide. Subscribe for more intriguing content.